Hello, everybody. This is JJ Hardy with Victory Leadership Coaching, and it is Friday. So anybody who is watching knows that Fridays at noon Central every week is my leadership training. What we're going to talk about today is it's kind of linking between two different very important but also very popular topics. So one is effective communication, and two is ownership, which I talk about a lot. So communication is just conveying a message, whether it's through writing, talking, it can just be teaching, it can be sending an email, it can be sending a text message, it doesn't matter. But what's important about communication, effective communication, is that it has to be clear and it has to be concise. And clear means the message is easy to understand, and concise just means, those must be my notifications saying that I'm going live. And concise just means that it is short and it's to the point, so much so that it's quick, and you don't want to lose your listener or the person who's watching, whatever. You don't want to lose their attention, and that way the stuff was compact and it was easy to understand, and you don't forget it when you walk away. Ownership is the idea of taking responsibility for everything within your sphere of influence. So how do you bridge those things together? How do you find the connections between both of those things? Well, one common theme that I hear from employers, it doesn't have to be, the owner of a company. It can just be like a manager or a director or something like that, is that they say things like, I don't know how else I can say this stuff to this person. Well, if they're not getting it, obviously there's something you need to do differently. Ownership on that part is, if you don't understand, you need to ask, because if you're not getting through to your people, then you're not doing everything you can to make sure that your message is being heard, understood, and acknowledged. So let's use a technique that I like to call reverse active listening. So this is like the very opposite part of that. So if you're the communicator, if you're the one talking, right? And you absolutely need people to understand what you're saying, but you're having that typical problem where you're running your mouth on a constant basis, but it seems like you're not getting through to anybody. Well, when you're talking to your people, right? When you're done saying what you have to say, just look at them and ask a question. What did you get out of that? Wait for them to respond, and then say yes, say no, or say yes, but. And that yes, but should be followed with whatever they were missing. And if it's a series of steps to get a task done, then make sure they understand what those steps are. If they're missing something, you got to let them know. But just like in active listening, where you are the one on the receiving end and somebody else is talking, with active listening, you listen. Even if you have a thought inside your mind, the whole time that other person is talking, that doesn't necessarily matter. The active listening part comes in when it's time for you to respond, and you don't say what you've been thinking this whole time. You respond to what that other person is saying. Active listening is the process of understanding what another person is saying so that when it comes time to carry out what they were asking you to do or respond to what they're saying, you can tell them. It's being into it, like fully into it. If you're not into a conversation, then you're out of the conversation. And if you're out of the conversation, that person's not going to want to talk to you again. But if you're into the conversation, 9 times out of 10, and it doesn't matter what environment you're in, people just want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want to know that people care enough about them that what they're saying matters. What they're doing matters. So on the reverse side of that, if you need somebody to carry out something that you're saying and they're not currently, you're maybe your entire team or a third of your team doesn't do everything you ask them to do on a regular basis. Well, are you asking them to take notes? Are you asking them to repeat that stuff back to you after you brief them so that you know that they know? Because if you're just going through a routine and you're spewing information out every day, but they're not doing those things that you ask them to do, or they're not understanding those things that you're telling them, here's the ownership part. If you have to take responsibility for everything within your sphere of influence, then you can't bow out. You can't just say, there's nothing else I can do. And I fall into this trap here at home with my kids because it's hard. Kids will test you. Kids don't always understand because they're young. I think I just had this problem this morning. But, when it comes to making sure that your message is heard, you can't give up until it's been understood. And so you have to do everything you can to make sure that happens. And you have to show a certain level of understanding. And a lot of the time that means that you have to meet people where they are. I'm not perfect at that. I'm going to go ahead and say that if you're listening to this, you probably said the same thing to yourself. Nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have a lack of understanding for something that another person says at one point or another. We all think that it's their fault that they didn't hear something that we said. But at the end of the day, if you really care enough, you'll take the responsibility for that and follow through to make sure, if it's important enough, that it's understood so that gap is filled and there's no communication barrier anymore. I don't think I have anything else to say about that. I mean, it was kind of a quick Friday training. I don't have another person on here to bounce ideas off of, so I don't have anything on anybody on the other line to bounce ideas off of. So I'm just going to go into my normal exit routine, and I'm going to say that, if this message resonated with you, make sure it gets out to everybody. If you found that something I said will help you and you want to talk more about it, reach out to me. Just a conversation. Doesn't mean I'm just going to charge you money right up front. That's not how I roll. My job is to help, provide value, and if there's still something that I can do for you, then we talk about that. But this is social media, people. So share it, repost it, like it. If you're on YouTube, on my Victory Leadership Coaching channel, subscribe to it. But most importantly, put a comment down here on this video so that you can keep the conversation going. People don't take as much ownership as they think they do, and they don't communicate as well as they think they do either. So let's keep the conversation going, people. I hope everybody has a great and blessed day and a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to putting some more stuff out for you next week. Take care, everybody.